to another week of College Football Vlog. I'm TJ Cofield. I'll be joined in a few minutes by Chris Cox. Let's go ahead and jump into our Contenders and Pretenders segment.
Contender and Pretender.
And this week we're going to do it a little bit differently. We're going to have a lightning round. We're going to talk about 5 contenders and 5 pretenders. Let's jump into it. Our contenders this week. First of all, South Carolina, the big 35-7 win over the Georgia Bulldogs. Florida getting a big win over the LSU Tigers in the Swamp, 14-6. West Virginia, 48-45 over the Texas Longhorns in Austin. Notre Dame all the way up to number 7 and playing some great defense while they're at it. Ohio State, a big blowout win over the Nebraska Cornhuskers. A very good Nebraska team at that, but getting a big win in Columbus. Now, let's go with our 5 pretenders. Florida State, I told you so. They blow a huge lead to the NC State Wolfpack and lose it to a team they had no business losing to. UCLA, the very bad loss to Cal. Miami, the U, more like the who. Miami is probably the worst 4-2 team in this country. They have played 2 quality opponents this year, and they've gotten blown out by both of them. TCU, they lose their starting quarterback to some very bad off-field behavior issues, and they go and lose one to Iowa State. Not impressive. Finally, Northwestern, losing to a very, very bad Penn State team.
Games to watch.
Next, we'll come to our games of the week. We're only gonna cover 2 games this week because we have a third to discuss in Hometown Heroes. The first one we want to look at is number 17 Stanford traveling to South Bend to take on the number 7 Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Now look, I know I just listed Notre Dame as one of my contenders in the last segment, but Stanford is a team that plays just as good, if not better, defense than the Irish. And Stanford has a knack of traveling to top 10 teams and knocking them off. So I'm going with the upset and picking the Stanford Cardinal to get a shocker in South Bend on this one. Our second game is a little bit off the beaten path. Number 23 Louisiana Tech playing host to number 22 and new SEC member Texas A&M. Now Texas A&M has looked much more impressive in their SEC debut than their counterpart Missouri. They have a very great offense, and Coach Kevin Sumlin is off to a great start there. They have a tough test in Louisiana Tech. One of those teams that's kind of resting outside the BCS circle, waiting to pounce in. And this could be their big shot. I don't see it happening with Texas A&M and their high-powered offense. I see them winning in a shootout.
Ask TJ.
Geno Smith. The hype train is full steam ahead. He's completing 81% of his passes on the year. And after a huge performance at Baylor and then an equally huge victory against Texas, my question is this. Will Geno Smith, A, win the Heisman? B, is he worthy of the first overall pick in the NFL draft, given the way things have gone in the league over the past couple of years with Cam Newton, the resurgence of Michael Vick, RG3 coming out and being successful prior to his injury this past week? What's the future hold for Geno Smith?
All right, thanks for the question, Kevin, and also, love the shirt, go Wildcats. Kevin's asking about Geno Smith, the prolific star of the West Virginia Mountaineers. Right now, Geno Smith is the easy frontrunner for the Heisman. But remember, the Heisman campaign, just like any campaign, is won towards the end of the race, oftentimes. It'll be important to see if Geno Smith can keep up the production that he's had at the beginning of the season at the end of the season. If he can, I don't think he'll have any problem bringing the second straight Heisman Trophy back to the Big 12. Now, as far as his prospects as an NFL star, I don't think you look as far back as Cam Newton to see if he can have any success. I think you look right back to the last year and last year's Heisman Trophy winner, another Big 12 star, and Robert Griffin III, a.k.a. RG3. Geno Smith has not only the speed that RG3 has in open space, but he also has that very accurate arm that RG3 has. And I think if RG3 can already be having the success that he's having with the Washington Redskins, I don't think it's any stretch of the imagination to say that Geno Smith has a long and illustrious career ahead of him in the National Football League.
Hometown Heroes.
Next for Hometown Heroes. Number 3 South Carolina coming off a huge win against the Georgia Bulldogs, but there's no rest for the weary. They travel to Baton Rouge, down to the Bayou to take on the LSU Tigers, who were smarting from a tough loss to Florida in the Swamp. Now look, At the beginning of the year, this is one game that many Gamecock fans had circled as a very potential loss. But I don't think Gamecock fans need to think that gloom and doom. This is a great matchup for South Carolina. This is a team that hasn't been able to get it going on offense, and whose defense will allow a big play or two. South Carolina is going to play ugly, their defense is going to play beautiful, and they're going to win a very low-scoring game in this one. As far as the Clemson Tigers go, they have a week off this week. They have a week to prepare for the Virginia Tech Hokies coming into Death Valley.
This week, the Furman Paladins are back at home in Greenville to take on the Mocs of Chattanooga for another SoCon matchup. The Paladins are coming off of a heartbreaking 20-17 loss at number 5 Wofford this week. Furman played really well throughout the game, took an early first half lead, and just down the stretch, it seemed like that our inexperience and our youth got the best of us, and Wofford was just able to pull ahead at the very end. So this week is a little interesting game because Chattanooga coming into the season was supposed to be about to make the leap into the upper echelon of the conference, and they haven't done that so far. And so I really don't know what to expect from Chattanooga. From Furman, what I'm hoping for is I'm hoping for another inspired performance because they really did play well last week, but again, they ran out of steam towards the end. My hope is that Furman is going to take the home crowd. That they are going to limit the turnovers, protect Reese Hannon a little bit more, get the ground game going, and pull off the conference victory over Chattanooga, setting up a big matchup for homecoming next week against Georgia Southern. But anyway, that is the college football report for this weekend. Thanks for joining in, and we look forward to seeing you again next week. Have a great weekend.